on you. If you put a cover over your cake too early, what will happen is the cake's still cooling and it's going to be releasing steam. And if it releases steam, it's going to get sticky and gooey and it's going to stick to your paper. When I first went to flip this over, first thing I did was you can see it stuck a little bit, but I put some sugar on here, put some paper on top of it, and I go to flip it over. I just grab onto the sheets, flip it on over, and now this is the bottom. This is where the bottom sheet was. It's permanently adhered to this cake, but we can peel it away. You're going to want to peel it away at a low angle. I hold on to the cake, and I just gently peel it away. This is coming off pretty easy. I'll get rid of that. Now you're going to find some of your cake is not perfect. Right? It might be a little bit crispy. It may not be the right texture. This part here is crispy. So I start feeling around, see if I spot any spots that need to be trimmed. These two corners are bad. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim that away. We'll get rid of that because if it's too crispy, it's just not going to be worth using. Here, put them like scraps in one piece. This area here is too crispy, so I can feel it goes up the side a little bit. So I'm going to go and trim off the edge here. Get rid of some of that. Remember, it's no tragedy if you lose little bits and pieces. The idea is to use as much of it as you can. Once you've got it trimmed, then you can start to fill your roulade. Now, like I mentioned, there's a lot of flavoring possibilities. I know down in the freezer, I think we still have some fresh raspberries frozen down there. There's no reason why you couldn't put some of those in the middle of a roulade. But be careful, because lumps in the roulade may cause tearing. And that's one of the reasons I use whipped cream, because it's going to make for something that's very, very smooth and easy to roll. Alright, so this isn't sticking much. I'm going to go ahead and put some whipped cream on here. I just whipped this up by hand. You can see I went for soft to medium. If it's not quite medium, whip it a little more, it quickly becomes medium. So I'm just going to go ahead and put some of this on, this roulade. I don't use it all up because I want to have some left for my other one. I find I get about 2 full roulades out of a quart of cream. Now I'm not looking to get this so thick that it's going to have a problem. What I mean by a problem is that I don't want it oozing out of the sides. I want to try to find a way to get this to roll up and stay intact. I'm also looking to see if I can match the thickness of the cream with the thickness of the cake. That way when you roll it, you see this nice curlicue go all the way around and everything is even. The white and the brown make nice stripes going right through. Obviously, that's the goal. We'll see if I can actually accomplish it. I'm not going to go all the way to the edge, and the reason why is because I don't want it to ooze out. So I'm going to kind of give it a little bit of room on the edges to make sure that it just stays put. Now this does get heavy. The whole thing starts to get heavy. And I've found that if you try to make your roulade too large, then you can end up with something that's so heavy that it will collapse under its own weight. So think about that when it comes to how much whipped cream you're going to put in the middle. I tend to go for a moderate amount of whipped cream. I try not to go too much because I know what will happen. I had that happen yesterday. I had one that was perfect and the other one collapsed under its own weight. So obviously I put a little too much in that second one. Alright. When it comes time to roll it, this is where it gets fun. The first roll is kind of interesting. I'm going to use the paper to kind of assist me. It's going to try to stick to your paper a little bit. Just going to make sure it's free there. And I'm just going to try getting that first roll to go over. Then I'm going to use the paper again. The idea is that the paper can be a real helper here. Remember what the paper is doing. As I'm pulling this over, the paper is putting pressure across the entire roulade evenly. My hands can't do that. Even if I try to spread my fingers out, what will happen is I'll end up creating areas where there's high pressure and areas between my fingers where there's low pressure. And as soft as this is, it can't handle that. So I'm just going to let it do it by its own weight and just gently roll it up until I reach the end here. Now, I want to put this on a fresh piece of paper. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to transfer it to another piece of paper. You may be wondering, okay, I'd like to see this. How's he going to pull that off? There's always a trick. What I'm going to do is slide this paper underneath that paper. I'm just going to slide this up into the middle of my new piece of paper. Gently roll it over until this first piece of paper is free. From there, I'm just going to roll this up, trying to keep it fairly snug. With the paper wrapped around there now, what you're able to do is you're able to transport it from place to place. I'll put this on the sheet pan, put my name on it. And we'll just put this on a sheet pan and put it in the freezer, let it firm up. It's going to firm up just being chilled because the whipped cream in it is going to start to soak into the cake a little bit. Everything's going to kind of gel and kind of form a nice solid mass. But it'll be much easier to cut once it starts getting semi-frozen on the surface. In a few minutes, I'll run downstairs. I'll take this down to the freezer. I'll bring back the one I made yesterday. That's frozen solid, and we'll cut that one up. And we'll go ahead and taste that. We're going to use that for tasting. This one will take a little while to get frosty on the edges. But by the time we're done today, and you've got yours in the freezer, yours will start getting frosty on the edges, and you'll be able to cut it pretty easily and be able to transfer it to cake boxes, and you'll be able to transport it home very easily. But as you can see, it's a little tricky. You've got to pay attention to some details. This one, again, this is the one that didn't quite get all the way to the edge. I know this one was a little more sticky. You notice how I hold the paper low when I pull it away? Try to get a nice release from the paper. This side is a little sticky. This side adhered quite well to the paper. What do? If you've got really bad, you can get more sugar, and you can put a new piece of paper on it, try to get that to release. If I flip this over, you will see, just by the darkening of the paper here, this is really well glued to this piece of paper. You know, and this was the top. So, if this is the top, I'm going to have to peel it away. Yeah, sure, you're going to lose a little bit on the top. Okay, it's going to peel away, as you can see. That doesn't mean you can't make a roulade out of it. What you've done is you've just taken off that shiny layer that was on the outside. Peel it away carefully. Throw that one away. Now we just put this back down on this piece of paper, so it should be pretty good to work with. I'm going to go ahead and trim it up to make my edges nice and straight. Scraps. I never throw away scraps. You never know what you can use them for. Imagine all these little cake scraps. You could conceivably make a traditional English trifle if you wanted to. You take these little pieces of cake, you line a glass bowl with it, right? You can line the whole thing with parchment if you like too. But if you just line the bowl with it, then put in some whipped cream and some fresh fruit or some dried fruit, a little more cake scraps, just build it up and build it up until the whole bowl is full. And if you have paper in there, you can flip the whole thing upside down, peel the paper away, and you have this beautiful dome of a trifle. And it's a lot of fun, especially when you have chocolate, vanilla, and other flavors of cake that you've saved up.